All right, welcome back to Lesson 1, Parts of Speech Functions and Phrase Types. I mentioned yesterday that I would probably have to break this into more than one video, and sure enough, I did. Honestly, it probably should have been a couple more than one lesson. So this one is only about 8 slides, so it should not take as long as yesterday's did. So part 2, specifically on parts of speech functions in the sentences. The first function we have is a simple one, a subject. A subject is a noun or a pronoun. It's the thing that's acting in the sentence. Whatever the doer is, the subject of the sentence. So the baby is the subject. Dogs and cats are the subject. Dogs and cats are actually a compound subject. More than one thing can make up the subject. They are doing whatever the verb is. They are crying. They are making excellent pets. They're the subject of the sentence. That's the simple part. Being a little bit more complex, we have a function called a subject complement. Now there's two types of subject complements. The first one that we're going to look at is a predicate nominative. Nominative means noun. So technically when you say predicate nominative, you mean predicate noun. Predicate nominative is always going to be a noun or a pronoun, and it's always going to be used with a linking verb. That linking verb makes it real easy to spot. Okay? The linking verb is linking the noun, which is in the subject, to the descriptive noun in the predicate, therefore making it a predicate noun. So, what you see here in front of you in these example sentences, what you see in green, grandfather, Mr. Richards, the flag, etc., that's the subject of the sentence. What you see in blue, that's the linking verb. Those linking verbs make them really easy to spot. What you see in red, that's the predicate nominative. You should notice that all of them are nouns. They are describing what you see in the subject. They are linked to what you see in the subject, but they're nouns. They're not adjectives. Okay? The other side of this coin, the other type of sentence of subject complement is actually called a predicate adjective. Works very much the same way as a predicate nominative, but now you've actually got adjectives. So clearly they're always going to be adjectives, which helps you identify them, and they're always going to be used with a linking verb. So in this instance, you'll see same deal. The green is the subject, the blue, tasted, is, grew, felt, are. Those are your linking verbs. And then what you see in red, predicate adjectives are actually adjectives. Delicious, crazy, tired, satisfied, frustrated. Your key here with your subject complements is to identify that you have a linking verb. Now if we look back to last night's the earlier slide, the earlier video, we know that linking verbs are those to be verbs, those sensory verbs, and those sort of state of being verbs. So that's why you'll see things like tasted in here as a linking verb. We might not generally think of that as a linking verb, but it is. It's linking stew with the adjective delicious. Next function that we have, I also alluded to yesterday, that would be a direct object. What you need to know about a direct object, always going to be a noun. And direct objects are used with transitive action verbs. Those are the action verbs that need to have a direct object in order to make sense. So these examples, what you see in blue, that's your transitive action verb. The rain pelted, my cousin bought, Alice captured, Sam left, Madeline brought. Most of those subject-verb combos aren't going to make enough sense. They're not giving us enough information to create a sensible clause or coherent thought. So we need something else. That something else is called a direct object. The rain has to pelt something. That something is the windows, the direct object. My cousin bought. What did my cousin buy? He bought a car. That noun, a car, is the direct object of the action verb bought. Alice captured. What did Alice capture? She captured the direct object, a cat. Now we have that modifier in there, a crazy cat, and that's okay, but the direct object is actually the cat itself. That's the noun that comes up. We have another thing to make this even more complicated is an indirect object. Not every sentence that has a direct object is going to have an indirect object. Some of them will. You can't have an indirect object without a direct object. So, also, always going to be a noun. It's used only with and to further modify a direct object if you need to give more information. You can usually take out the indirect object, the sentence will still make sense. It'll still be coherent. So, what you see in purple on this screen is the indirect object. So, the salesman sold new computers. New computers is your direct object. That sentence makes perfect sense without the company in the middle of it. The company tells us, it gives us more information about to whom the new computers were sold. So the salesman sold the company new computers. You could rephrase that and say the salesman sold new computers to the company. You could change that indirect object into a prepositional phrase and it would be just fine. My cousin bought me a car. My cousin bought a car. That makes sense. It has our transitive action verb. It has our direct object. Who did that car get bought for? My cousin bought me a car. Same thing with Madeline and her flowers. Madeline brought a bouquet of flowers. Makes sense, just fine. But we add our direct object. Madeline brought Sam the bouquet of flowers. The teacher gave the students extra credit. The person that thing, that direct object, or the entity that direct object is happening to or for or about, is going to be your indirect object. This is one more further complication about objects, indirect objects, of your sentences. We have something called an object complement. This is probably the most hazy of all of the different functions we're going to be talking about. Object complements are not instantaneously recognizable. They could be a noun, they could be a pronoun, they could be an adjective. What they do is they're going to directly modify that direct object. They're not telling you who that direct object has done something for or about. They're simply giving you more information. So what you see in front of you, what you see in dark brown, is going to be your object complement. Okay? America recently elected Barack Obama. Elected is your action verb. Barack Obama, that's your direct object. What did they elect him? They elected him president. The president is your object complement. The police caught the thief. Well, that's just fabulous. It works just fine on its own. Caught is your transitive action verb. Thief, the thief, that would be your direct object. Stealing modifies the thief. They caught the thief doing what? My aunt calls my uncle sweetheart. Sweetheart modifies what she calls your uncle. We all considered her unworthy. Her is your direct object. Unworthy is your object complement. Notice in the first two sentences, you could take that object complement out and still have it make sense. In the third and fourth examples, you can't. You have to have it. My aunt calls my uncle. You need that extra information. The direct object should be enough, but in certain instances, with certain verbs, it's not. Two more functions that we have to talk about. One of them, this is one of the easiest ones, the object of a preposition. Objects of preposition are always going to be nouns and pronouns. They're always used within a prepositional phrase. Now, we talked yesterday in the previous video about what a prepositional phrase is. It includes a preposition and an object. That object is going to be a noun. So what you see in brackets are the prepositional phrases. For Andrea, on the program, in San Diego, for the magazine. In each of those instances, what you see in red, that's the object of the preposition. Each one of them is a noun, and it's vital. If we didn't have that in the prepositional phrase or in the sentence, it would not make any sense. Last slide for this video. Other functions of nouns. Nouns do all of those things that we just talked about, but they also do a couple more things. Nouns can function as adjectives. So the child actor. In that case, it's functioning as an adjective because it's modifying actor. It's giving us more information about the actor. It seems like a noun. It's actually an adjective. Okay? can also act as an adjective in terms of being a possessive modifier. So the librarian's report. Which report? The librarian's report. But in this case, librarians is acting as an adjective modifying report, but it's not your typical adjective. It's actually a noun acting like one. Finally, they can act as adverbs. Nouns can function as adverbs. So we decided to go home. Home, very clearly, it's a person, place, or thing. It's a noun. In this sentence, it's functioning as an adverb. It is modifying the verb go, telling us where you're going. Final sentence. Today the children woke up early. Today is functioning as an adverb. It's modifying woke up. It's telling us when they woke up early. They woke up early today. Okay. That is our last slide of functions. Stay tuned for your third video, which are different types of phrases.